Let's talk about Henrietta Lacks. Her story, it's really at the center of so much of modern medicine. But for a long, long time, the world knew about her cells, but not about her. We're talking about the woman, the human being, behind one of the most important tools in medicine. It's a story about her life, sure, but it's also about her family and about something that was taken from them without anyone asking. So to get a handle on what her cells mean, you have to first understand the woman. Who was Henrietta Lacks before she was HeLa? Her birth name was Loretta Pleasant. The family isn't even sure how it changed to Henrietta. She grew up working tobacco fields in Virginia. Later on, she and her husband, David, everyone called him Day, they moved up to Maryland. They were looking for a better life, for work in the steel mills. Her life was so short. She was only 31 when she passed away, but her impact, well, that turned out to be immeasurable. She had 5 children, and their house, it was the kind of place where the door was always open, a real gathering spot for family, for neighbors. From everything we know, she was the heart of that community. So, in 1951, something changed. She went to the doctor because of a painful knot, as she called it, in her womb. That single visit, it didn't just change her life or her family's future. It changed the future of medicine forever. She ended up at Johns Hopkins. In that time of segregation, it was one of the few places that would treat Black patients. And during her treatment, her doctors took a sample of her tumor cells. They didn't tell her. They didn't ask her permission. In the lab, the scientists noticed something strange, something they'd never seen. See, normal human cells, they die off pretty quickly in a dish, but Henrietta's cells, they didn't. They just kept dividing and dividing. Okay, so here's the thing. Most of our cells, they can only divide about 50 times, and then that's it. They're done. It's just a natural limit. But Henrietta's cells, they just blew past that limit. They were basically immortal. The researchers named them HeLa, HL for Henrietta, LA for Lacks. And with that, everything in science started to change. Henrietta passed away that year, 1951. She was buried back home in an unmarked grave. She never had any idea that a part of her was still living or that it was about to change the world. Pretty soon, HeLa cells were being grown by the millions, mass-produced and shipped out to labs all over the globe. Henrietta's legacy was taking off, completely unknown to her own family, and it started to fuel one medical breakthrough after another. I mean, just think about it. The polio vaccine couldn't have happened without her cells. Cancer research, cloning, mapping our genes, IVF, her cells were part of all of it. HIV research, the HPV vaccine, even the development of COVID-19 vaccines, all of it relied on HeLa. It's no exaggeration. Pretty much every single person alive has benefited in some way from what was taken from her. Almost 11,000, that's how many patents involved HeLa cells. Her body, her cells, they created a multi-million-dollar industry. So you have all this good that came from it, so much good for the world, but it's sitting right alongside this deep personal injustice. And for more than 20 years, 2 decades, her own children had no clue, no idea that their mother's cells were alive, growing in labs all over the planet. They finally found out in 1975, and it was by chance, a complete accident. You can imagine the confusion, the pain. Think about that for a second. Finding out a part of your mother is still alive in labs everywhere, and nobody ever told you. Nobody even thought to ask. And, it wasn't even just about the money. It was about basic respect, the lack of communication. Her family has said that just knowing, just being told, it would have helped. It would have brought some kind of closure. But the secrecy, that created a wound that lasted for a long, long time. Henrietta's daughter, Deborah, she asked a question that really just cuts right to the heart of it all. If her mother was so important to medicine, how come her own children couldn't even afford to go to the doctor? So that began a new chapter. The Lacks family started a long, long journey to reclaim their mother's story, to reclaim her name, and to have a say in her genetic legacy. A big turning point was in 2013. The family found out that their mother's entire genetic map, her genome, had been published online for anyone to see. Again, nobody asked them, but this time they had the power to fight back. They worked out an agreement with the National Institutes of Health, and for the first time, the family got a seat at the table. Now, two members of the Lacks family are on the committee that decides who gets to access that genetic data. Then, in 2023, another big step. The family reached a settlement with a biotech company that had been profiting from her cells for years. It was a really historic moment. So today, the family keeps her story alive. They make sure the world remembers the woman, Henrietta, not just the cells. They're making sure she finally gets her rightful place in history. Her grandson, Alfred, put it best. He said, "We are her voices now."